Ben, so where do you stand that ketchup is the only sauce that belongs on a bacon sandwich?
I can't get my head around HP sauce, brown.
I'm open to brown sauce. I'm not I don't close that off.
You go back to Nottingham, you've changed to different, like you start talking differently.
I know.
You become this gritty northerner.
I don't know who I prefer. I think I prefer
You're just trying to get the approval from your parents.
I spend too much time with you, that's the issue.
So Lou, where do you stand on forwards kicking in open play, just in general?
I'm open to it, but it does depend on who it is.
Can you throw some names out who you wouldn't want to see do it?
Mako Vunipola, I'm not a fan of seeing him kick, personally.
Because Mako claims he is the best kicker in the squad over the backs. Any thoughts on that?
But he is more of a specialist goal kicker.
Yeah, off the tee rather than from hand.
I prefer him to take a conversion than a punt. Put it that way.
So if we got into like a shootout off the tee, would you want him in your five?
I'd have Mako in there, yeah.
Name your five.
Oh wow, you really put me on the spot. Including backs or forwards? Well, we've got good kickers. Obviously you'd have Owen, Loz, I suppose Good would be in there for his chipping technique. Yeah.
Billy's good as well, actually.
I've seen KP strike a few as well, actually. As well, yeah, maybe KP.
I think I'm going to start working on it, see if I can get my name in the
Do you think you can be in the top five? No.
The forwards are all kicking, right? And the forwards get out early so they can kick at goal. Then Faz comes out and they all just stop and they start stretching. So maybe they need to actually get themselves out there and be a little bit braver when the training starts.
I think it's a win-win, because if you get it right, you know,
you're a hero.
You're a hero.
You're
if you get it wrong, you're a forward. So you've got an easy cop out. Yeah. So Ben, where do you stand on the statement that forwards are more well-rounded athletes than backs?
I think it's certainly up for debate. There's certain forwards that I definitely argue would fall into that category. You know, you compare maybe a Theo McFarland versus a Nick Tompkins. You know, all of a sudden I'd say Theo's a far more superior athlete. Both in coordination and physique.
What do you think on the front row situation?
Yeah, well, I've deliberately left them out the conversation.
Really, not a fan of the...
I mean, Christian Judge is, despite being the strongest man I've probably ever seen.
Well, he would argue that.
That was, you know, he's a very good athlete, maybe not that well-rounded.
In this movement,
yeah,
the best.
We start doing some conditioning and he blows out quite early, so you've got to be fit, you've got to be physical. You know, as a back, you can just be fit, you don't necessarily have to be as physical. So
you're saying yes?
I'm saying yes.
Okay.
You agree?
Well, genetically, forwards tend to be blessed of just being bigger, which makes, you know, their strength, their power. You have that issue where you're not big at all. So where are we putting you in this?
But
are you relying on speed? But then are you technically a back? So
I think, here's the question. How many forwards could play as a back, and how many backs could play as forwards? I think there's more forwards.
I'd say there's not much either way, to be honest.
I think
you are what you are.
Alex Zozowski could never ever play as a forward. Is
that a mindset issue, or is that his physique issue?
Both. He'd blame his hips as well.
Does like a big hit every so often.
He does, but he mentally couldn't turn up and maul on a Tuesday afternoon.
It's the daily grind that would wear him down. Yeah, it's not. That's definitely true.
Exactly.
I think that's a major factor in most of the backs.
Yeah, well, maybe we include mentality and well-rounded. I think that's an important one as well. You know. Yeah, I think forwards are more well-rounded. Yes.
Okay.
So Louis, do you prefer winning on the road, like away, or home games at the Stone X or the Tottenham Stadium for that reason?
I would say maybe there's two sides of the coin to this, because obviously winning at home is always special to have your home fans there cheering you on. But winning away is, you know, you've got your backs to the wall usually, it's hostile, particularly when teams play us. And there is a special feeling about winning away, and that satisfying feeling of getting back on the bus with the boys.
Winning at home is awesome because obviously your family are there, etc. You get to see all the boys, the whole squad are around. But something about winning, a lot of the special moments we have as a squad include those away wins.
What's your favourite away win?
My favourite away win is probably the Gloucester away win when we got the first points deduction after the salary cap in the pouring rain with a Very understrength team. Moments like that live long in the memory.
For me, Bristol away at the beginning of last year was a special one.
That was a good win.
Just to be back in the Prem and win a game in the Prem.
Lumen bundling into the corner.
Yeah, it was a nice moment. It was a nice moment. I'm not going to lie, but it wasn't about that.
Do you think you could have worked through celebration there? I'd have liked to have seen Alan Shearer.
Maybe.
To the empty stand, because you've done that before, actually. You've given it the big into an empty stand.
That was also a favourite away win of mine. Obviously, I was lucky enough to bag a try and celebrate to no one, so special moment for me.
Massive moment.
Not great for the gram.
It made it there regardless.
Ben, so where do you stand that ketchup is the only sauce that belongs on a bacon sandwich?
So this is obviously a personal question, and for me, I can't get my head around HP sauce, brown.
You're not into brown?
I'm not into brown.
It's a northern thing, you're not northern in the slightest.
I think we're a product of how we're brought up. My parents hate HP sauce.
You told me when we first met you'd never been north of Watford, to be fair. So it's unlikely
we then played Leicester the week after, so it was, obviously that was short-lived.
But it's unlikely you would have come across HP sauce.
No, I'm not a massive fan of HP sauce. In fact, I don't think I've ever had it / enjoyed it if I've ever tasted it. So
it's sweeter, it's fruitier. You know?
Yeah, well, no. Sweet and savoury,
like
doesn't go. I like the bitterness of Heinz tomato ketchup.
I'm open to brown sauce. I'm not I don't close that off, but I don't tend to buy it. Has it got a place in your fridge, brown sauce? No.
Right. Their end of the.
But if I'm at my parents', it would have a place in the fridge, and it is an option.
But what I'd say, right, is you're bought into this London lifestyle. You go back to Nottingham, you change into a different bloke. You start talking differently.
I know.
You become this gritty northerner.
I don't know who I prefer. I think I prefer.
You're just trying to get the approval from your parents.
I spend too much time with you. That's the issue.
You've changed. You changed too. You're too-faced.
No, you've just seen a different side to me. I'm just trying to make friends since I've come down here. That's all it is.
When you're conversing with someone on WhatsApp or on text, are you more of a voice noter, or do you just prefer straight down the line old-fashioned text?
I would say I'm really coming round to a voice note, but I will say there is a time limit on a voice note. If you're going north of 2 minutes, you're probably not getting a reply from me because that's just outrageous.
There's two things for me on a voice note. So it's perfect for plan making, because plan making on text is a tough one. Do you do it in one big block, or do you do it in small individual messages?
Agreed.
And secondly, I struggle with a voice note because it's like, I'll start talking and then I'll literally start talking to myself and then debating with myself whether that was a better plan or not.
Can't believe you like to talk.
No, of course not.
Really?
You'd think I'd like the sound of my own voice, so it's like...
Do you though? That's what I was going to ask next. Do you like listening to your own voice notes back?
I'll make a voice note and be like, yeah, that was quite smooth. And then you listen it back and you're like, do I really sound like that? It's horrific. I tend not to instigate the first voice note, but if I then get one, am I rude by just text messaging back, or do I then have to...
What do you normally do?
I tend not to voice note with people that I haven't really know.
Would you rather drop onto a FaceTime than send a long voice note?
No, I'd rather do a voice note. FaceTime's very intrusive. What happens if you haven't tidied your room, or you've got a massive stack of washing
to do? Cleaned your teeth.
You can't smell your breath with a FaceTime.
I don't know, maybe Apple's developing something now. Breath sensory.
Stop this now, this conversation's done.
So Ben, obviously we've got quite a few coffee connoisseurs at the club. Where do you stand that Elliot Daly is the best coffee maker at the club?
I would say undisputably Elliot has the best coffee set up in the club. I'm sure if we can maybe at that point get a picture when I've said that, it'd be great, of his coffee setup. It's unbelievable. Jamie George makes a very, very good coffee. When Elliot makes a coffee, right, it takes, a flat white should take, 5 minutes to make, max? Takes Elliot 12 minutes to make coffee, because he's like
12 minutes.
Measuring each and every bean. It does taste great and there's care in it, but
he couldn't run a coffee shop at that rate.
He couldn't run a coffee shop.
He's selling what? He's probably selling 50 cups of coffee a day.
And he's missing out. They're missing their tubes if they're dipping in.
He's proud of his products.
They're dipping into Daly & Co.'s a roastery for a quick brew before the tube. They're missing it because it takes 12 minutes to make. I'm probably a bit more of a young fledgling coffee connoisseur, but I'm enjoying it, and I'd like to throw my name in the hat over the next couple of months.
I think once you get into a routine, you get better.
You do get better.
I seem to get the first cup every time. I think
the first cup's the worst.
It's a poor reflection of your skills.
It is, and you keep putting it on Instagram, and that needs to stop because maybe you put the one
Well,
that I
maybe
make.
your coffee making needs to improve, and then it will stop going on Instagram.
An outsider who's good at coffee is Jackson Ray. He makes a good coffee.
Yeah, and you know about it.
Yeah, and he's big
that's on
on
the
his
gram.
Instagram.
That's on the gram.
Owen makes a good coffee. There's quite a few that are out there, some dark horses. So not necessarily Elliot 100%, but the care that Elliot puts in is beyond anyone else at the club.
Oh, well, that's why we're here to debate it, isn't it?